as BGF has kindly ordered some food so that all of you can enjoy lunch. Donations, of course. Those of you who are very strong meditators can see fireworks without looking at fireworks.
Kindfulness was my boss, but he has always been against me no matter what I do. They never appreciate me, so now I've decided to quit my job in 2 years and join another company. Why isn't it my kindness and compassion work? It has worked. You've got to be your boss. So just be hopey, nice and easy. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, then be hopey it's going to work next time. So you can always be hoping. I think that's all the questions. Irritation is constant, 24/7, even at night time, hardly sleep. And I was so proud of him that he not only lasted the 9 days of the retreat, but he had his face mask off right
I just came back from Spain, and this was the International Congress of Clinical Psychology.
Oh yeah?
The keynote speaker there, big American, and what he said practically supported exactly what you said tonight. We've learned that there are all different kinds of therapies in this world, and he wanted to find out which is the best. And he found out that all these kind of therapies are all as good as one another, but the main element that made them work was kindness. 60% of what works is actually kindness in any kind of therapy. So scientifically proven.
Do you have to go to Spain to find that out?
So I went. Anyway, that's the first thing. Second thing is tomorrow's talk will be here in this room if anyone of you want to come. So thank you very much for coming. Please do not have to stack up the seat, you can just go.
Okay, have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much, Brother Elvin, Ajahn Brahm, and venerable teachers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to BGF for tonight's talk by Venerable Ajahn Brahm. And oh no, Brother Ajahn Brahm, you cannot pass along. So this is a very special evening, and this is really also to test the hall itself. Because I think only when Ajahn Brahm comes in that we're able to fill up all the halls, all the floors of the hall, right? And now the floors are connected, so I'm afraid we would like to fit everybody in this hall, but I think this is all that we can afford. So this is the size of the hall that we managed to construct or to have in this building. But in any case, those of you in the first floor, in the ground floor, I'm sure you will be able to follow the teachings by Ajahn Brahm. Yes. So very nice to see all of you here, and for this very special evening. I think the MC, Brother Alvin, did mention about passing the enrollment forms. For those of you who like to become members of BGF, you know BGF has been around since 1980. They've been around for quite a while. Started by a group of graduates who feel that our mission is really to contribute our efforts for the Buddhist community. Besides building up a career, besides building up a family and doing other things, also dedicate our efforts so that together we can work together for the Buddhist community. So that was the idea why the BGF was formed. And after the BGF was formed in Malaysia, Singapore had the same idea. Also started by Malaysians, by the way, Ajahn Brahm. They are also called BGF. We started as Buddhist Graduate Fellowship, but later on we found that the word graduate is not relevant. So in the case of Kuala Lumpur, we transformed the word graduate into JAMs. So we became Buddhist JAM Fellowship. In the case of Singapore, they dropped the word graduate altogether, so they became Buddhist Fellowship. And it is for this purpose of wanting to contribute and to build up the Buddhist community. And over the years, I think you've seen, if you've followed the programs of BGF, you've seen that we've been very consistent. We have a dedicated team of people to bring the Dharma, various forms of Dharma to people so that you can actually learn and practice the Dharma. But not only that, we also like to equip people with various types of skills. You know, we have just completed the 29th year of public speaking, and the graduation ceremony was out here, so we've been doing that for 29 years to train the Buddhist leaders in the Klang Valley so that they might be able to speak better in public. And we have been running the counseling courses, training people to be counselors for 23 years. But besides that, we have also schools for little kids starting from the age of 4. And this year for their graduation, they make movie, Ajahn Brahm. Like little kids make movies of their own. And they make sets, the movie sets, and they do the shooting, they did the narration. And when it's shown on the screen, it's a real movie on the early life of the Buddha. So these are the things that we like to equip young children. So when they come over to centers like this, not only do they learn about the life of the Buddha, not only do they learn about Buddhism, but also they learn various types of skills as well. This is what we like to do. All right, and I must say that this beautiful building that we're in is a result of the contributions of so many people. Right? I mean, this building could not materialize without your kindness and your contribution, and also the team of people who work very hard. We have a wonderful team of people to build this building. Yes, if you feel that you like to support BGF, you think that what we're doing is good, you're welcome to join in as a member. Actually, our sister Dolly Teo has got a promotion for you. If you join as a member, it's 40 ringgit, 10 ringgit just for the registration and 30 for the annual subscription. However, if you were to register for 2 years, that is for 70 ringgit, you'll be given a white t-shirt, BGF. That is a promotion. Some of you who are members of BGF might want to upgrade from an ordinary member, which means that you have to pay a subscription every year. You prefer to just settle one-time payment and become a life member. You can also do that tonight, and you'll also be given a white t-shirt. So that is a yeah, but but I think if you're a member of BGF, it means that you support the kind of work that you do, and you believe. We've been doing this for about 35 years or more, and you think that BGF has been very consistent in doing Dharma Duta work, and if you want to support, please, you can join us as a member and fill out the enrollment forms. The other thing that you might actually, as you look around, you have the boxes for donations. If you feel that you'd like to support, and you can also do that, because you must know that BGF is not a monastery or temples, and we don't do ceremonies that where, temples, sometimes they do ceremonies within 1 year. It settles the bills for 1 year. We have to depend on contributions of people, kindness of people, in order to keep this beautiful center running. All right, so we just leave it up to you. But tonight we're going to have this wonderful talk by Ajahn Brahm. When I was in Malacca for the conference, Malacca had an international conference, and there was a speaker from Indonesia, and they said when Ajahn Brahm is in Indonesia, the audience is 4,000 to 5,000. And they say, Malacca, why do we only have about 180 people here? And in Jakarta, when Ajahn Brahm gives a talk, just to get into the tickets for Ajahn Brahm goes faster than Lady Gaga. And that's true. That's true. And Ajahn Brahm's book has been translated in Bahasa Indonesia, and his books have hit the top chart. He has even overtaken even the management book or whatever books you have. Top selling books in Indonesia is by Ajahn Brahm. Better than Harry Potter. So Ajahn Brahm, when Ajahn Brahm is in Indonesia, Not only would the Buddhist come, Buddhists as well as non-Buddhists will come for his talks, because he has a way of reaching out to everybody. And Ajahn Brahm is what we call a celebrity monk. Yeah. So how fortunate we are at BGF. In fact, we have been associated for Ajahn Brahm for a long time. And we're so grateful to have a wonderful teacher like Ajahn Brahm. So ladies and gentlemen, please, you're very fortunate to be able to be in the same hall and listen to a talk by Ajahn Brahm. So I'd like to thank all of you for coming here, and I'd like to pass it back to the MC, Alvin.
Thank you, Dr. Sri, Dr. Victor Wee. I think he's done part of my part already. You have actually introduced Ajahn Brahm, but I'll do the introduction anyway. So, okay, for those of you who don't know Ajahn Brahm, Ajahn Brahmavamso Mahathera, popularly known as Ajahn Brahm, as you will know by now, was born in London 1951 with the name Peter Betts. After graduating from Cambridge University in theoretical physics, he taught for a year at a school before he went to Thailand to be trained with the Venerable Ajahn Chah and was ordained at the age of 23. It's kind of the other way around, isn't it? Ordained first and then went to train Ajahn Chah. Yep. In 1983, at the request of the Buddhist Society of Western Australia, he was sent to Perth to assist Ajahn Jagaro in building Bodhinyana Monastery in Serpentine, Western Australia. And in 1995, he took charge of the center, and he's a very popular international speaker, as you've heard from Dr. Victor Wee. He's a sellout in Indonesia. You go for his talk over there, you get stuck in traffic jam for hours. You come for Ajahn Brahm's talk in KL, no problem, isn't it? So please do support our center, so it's an easier access to Ajahn Brahm. And currently very lucky to have him here. And thank you so much, Ajahn, for being here. It's always very happy to be here. He's the abbot of Bodhinyana Monastery in Serpentine, Western Australia, the spiritual director of the Buddhist Society of Western Australia, a spiritual advisor to the Buddhist Society of Victoria, a spiritual advisor to the Buddhist Society of South Australia, and a spiritual patron of the Buddhist Fellowship of Singapore. Ajahn? Few more. And a few more, and etc., you know. It's been cut short here. Ajahn Brahm also, as you know, has written a few books which are on a bestseller list overseas. And tonight, Ajahn Brahm will be sharing with us on the topic Kindfulness. Let's rise to give a very warm welcome to our beloved teacher, Ajahn Brahm.
Very good. The only thing about being a celebrity which I don't have is bodyguards. But actually, the two nuns over there sitting in front, they're my bodyguards for this evening. Don't just think they look nice and sweet and soft. If any of you try and you think, zip zap zap. That's very strange, being Ajahn Brahm. You just go along trying to teach the Dhamma and make people happy, but people actually do appreciate, and it does touch people's hearts. And not just here, but all over the world. And I do some very interesting stuff. One thing I was telling people in Malacca, that when I was, thank you so much, bodyguards, you could have attacked me then, what were you doing? So one thing which I've been doing recently, that in September, I took a couple of days off a range retreat because I received a very prestigious invitation to give the keynote address at an international conference in Korea. The keynote was the opening address to start the whole conference off. And they paid business class airfares, gave a huge big hotel room, and gave a 2,000 Australian dollar donation to the monastery. It was wonderful. But the most important thing was the conference. The conference was the 2015 World Computer Congress. And a Buddhist monk who doesn't know anything about computers managed to get away with giving a talk on something he knows nothing about. But still they were really impressed. And I've also went to last February to Google headquarters to do the same, to give them a talk on just how to improve, the quality of their IT systems, and usually something. So that's incredible. And also, when I was in Google, that was in San Francisco, Facebook heard I was in town. So I had to go to Facebook as well. I'm not on Facebook, I'm in Facebook. So anyway, we have a wonderful, interesting time as a Buddhist monk. And one of the reasons is that these incredible, wonderful, beautiful teachings, when you bring them down to earth and make them accessible to everybody, it's incredible just how many people in all different walks of life actually start making use of these teachings. But you've got to be innovative, but still keep grounded on the Buddha's teachings. And that's really important. And all those people listening today, the best people at the BGF today are those who are grounded on the bottom floor. The next best people are those in the middle, because they're real Buddhists. You in the second story are following middle way. Well done. And you're in the top story, I'm not going to talk about you. So anyway, so it's wonderful to talk and to invent a few things, but keep grounded. When I was in Malacca, somebody called me like a modern monk. And I actually said, no, I am traditional monk. And actually it is very, very true. I am very traditional monk. I keep my Vinaya rules just as in the time of the Buddha. I meditate and teach to balance my life, and all the teachings which I give are based on the teachings of the Buddha. Very few ceremonies, because at the time of the Buddha there was very few ceremonies. And teachings which were adapted to the audience, which they could understand using similes of our daily life. And so this is, I'm not a modern monk at all. I am as traditional as you can. But my traditions go further back than Thailand, further back than Chinese culture, down to the time of the Buddha. So I am very traditional monk. But even so, you do try and make the teachings more alive. And so one of the things I've been doing over the last few years is inventing new words. And I love inventing. One of the first words I invented was when, because I see a few t-shirts here that people have got on their t-shirts, don't worry, be happy. That's really terrible. Sometimes people don't want to be happy. You're telling them to be happy. What right have you to order someone else to be happy? It's up to them. If they don't want to be happy, that's their choice. And I was saying that actually with loving kindness, metta. How many people, when we spread metta as good Buddhists, we say, may all beings be happy and well. What happens if a person doesn't want to be happy and doesn't want to be well? And you're putting them in a difficult situation. They feel guilty, they're miserable. And because of that, sort of one of my books, you can see it down there, the one which is called Good, Bad, Who Knows, the American version, the title is not Don't Worry, Be Happy, Don't Worry, Be Grumpy. And it's doing really well. It's that book which was, it didn't just get to the top of the motivational bestseller charts, it got to number 3 in Germany of all books. Romances, sci-fis, everything. It got to number 3. So a lot of people in Germany, they like being grumpy. And where that came from, if you don't know the story, there was a young girl on one of my retreats. And everyone was saying, oh, meditate and let go, be happy, smile. And she didn't want to smile, she felt miserable, and she just really got fed up with everybody telling her to be happy. And so she came to complain to me, why as a Buddhist do I always have to be happy? It's not fair. So I quickly went into my room. I got on the computer, I got a piece of letter-headed paper, and I gave her the very first grumpy license on beautiful letterhead paper with lovely font, just like a driving license or a marriage certificate or a degree. I said, this license confers on the following, and it was Ronnie something, permission to be grumpy at any time, for any reason or no reason whatsoever, for the rest of her life, signed Ajahn Brahm. So now she had permission from her teacher to be grumpy. And as soon as she didn't have to be happy anymore, as soon as she had a license to be miserable, she became happy. And that is the problem. When people say, oh, you should be happy all the time, that makes you miserable. When you're allowed to be miserable, now you feel happy. It's just like on my meditation retreats. I don't know if you've been on meditation retreats, the same thing has happened. When I teach meditation on my meditation retreats, many people fall asleep. Can't sleep. So I tell them, when I'm teaching meditation, you fall asleep, try and go to sleep. But when you go to bed at night, try to meditate. That was solve the problem. People are really weird. But anyway, instead of don't worry, be grumpy, I did another better word. Don't worry, be hopey. H-O-P-E-Y. Be hopey. Because what is worry? Worry is looking at the future with a negative mind. Thinking of all the things which might go wrong. Thinking of all the terrible things which might happen to you. Thinking about the stock market, thinking about your health, thinking about making big mistakes, thinking of not being able to pay off the bills for the Buddhist Gem Fellowship. Don't worry, Victor. Be hopey. And so looking at the future with a negative mind, there are people like that. You know, oh, this is going to go wrong, oh, something bad is going to happen, oh, I'm going to get the doctor's report, I'm going to be really in big trouble. And when you have a fear of the future, you actually create a bad future. The things you fear are what actually happens. I've seen that so often. So instead of worrying about the future, be hoping. So hope that something good is going to happen. And it's more likely to happen. So that's one of my first words. Don't worry, be hoping. So I don't know what you're worried about in life, the economy, climate change. What other people worry about in Malaysia? Oh, lots of stuff. But don't worry, Malaysia, be hoping. And one of the other words which I invented, because it's a word in religion, in philosophy, called ineffable. I don't know if you've ever heard of that word, but when they say about God or karma, or anything which is very, very deep, they have a word saying it's too deep to explain, it's ineffable. And I thought, what does that word actually mean? But I changed that word a little bit and made it very useful. And I created the word ineffable. Not ineffable, but ineffable. And what that does about your past. When you think of your past, how many times do you think, oh, if only if I'd have done something else. If I hadn't married that woman. If I've only carried on doing my degree. How many times do we have ifs and we regret what we did or what we said? You can't say that, because if you didn't marry your wife, you'd have probably married someone much worse. Be happy with the one you've got. If you hadn't have just carried on and done something, we don't know what would happen if something else had occurred. That's why the past is ineffable. So never if the past. And say, oh, if I had come earlier, I would have been able to sit at the front. If I hadn't become a monk, I wouldn't have to teach so much. If I hadn't become a dato, I could have a nice, easy life. Don't ever say those things, because the past is ineffable. If something else had happened, it could have been much, much worse. But the best word which I invented was, the last few years, everybody all over the world has been talking about mindfulness. There are mindfulness coaches and professors of mindfulness, and mindfulness is something you can buy. It's a commodity. You'll soon be able to get it at 7-Eleven, I'm sure. Whatever it is, mindfulness is getting so strong, but a lot of time it doesn't work. I remember just going to a seminar once. There was a professor from Stanford University, no less. A big professor of mindfulness studies. And he did a very great experiment. He took about 100 psychology students. He split them in half, to get sort of the base group and compare with the other group, the control group. And he sent half of those students, 50 of them, to a mindfulness meditation day, where they practiced mindfulness all day. And the other half he sent to a California spa at the university's expense, where they could soak in hot baths, have massages, have hot oil poured over their backs for one day. And I don't know, does any university in Malaysia do that? No! But there's a rich university that can afford such things. So, and after a day at the spa or a day doing mindfulness meditation, they compared the results. They gave everybody a questionnaire psychology test to find out who were the most relaxed. It's amazing. It was very clear winner. The people who went to the spa were far more relaxed than those who did any meditation. And I don't know, I've seen that, you may have seen that. Sometimes people complain to me. They sent their husband to meditation retreat. He was bad enough before he went, but when he comes out, oh, he's impossible to live with. What the heck is going on? And it's also the case here in Malaysia. You talk about meditation. I was just up in Terengganu and they say the same. They said meditation, oh no, too painful, too much stress, it hurts too much. What type of meditation are you doing? It is mindfulness, yes, but you're missing out one of the most important ingredients of Buddha's teachings, kindness and compassion. So I wanted to take mindfulness and take it to a much better level so it can really work and be better than going to a California spa. At least it's much cheaper. And to make it kindfulness. From mindfulness to kindfulness. And that's one of my favourite words. In fact, if you don't see it, the next book which is coming out, probably hasn't been received here, is called Kindfulness. Kindfulness Meditation. Just being produced in the United States. And what actually is kindfulness is being aware but being kind at the same time. And those two together, with mindfulness and kindness, now that is powerful. Now one of the problems with modern people is they are tired, they are stressed, and because of their tiredness and stress, they get very sick. And so the first part of kindfulness is teaching people how to be healthy, just like me. You know how old I really am? No, this is how old. My age, people asked me over in Terengganu, where I just came from this morning, they asked me and I told them, and I'm a monk, I can't lie. I don't lie, my age is 771. Honestly, that's true, I can't lie. Because it's against the precepts of monks to lie, isn't it? It's even for you guys, you can't lie. 5 precepts, we get much higher precepts. 771. Can you believe that? It's true. I am 771 months. If I call it in months, it sounds more awesome when you say months. You say 64, that's nothing. 771, wow. That's cool. But look, I am in really your body. You're kind to your mind. Poor mind. You've been having to do so much today. If you really need to think of the past, that's all right with me. Off you go. All the worries you have about the future, that's okay. Kindness. You feel your mind actually softens. It gets more peaceful. You're going in the right direction. The mindfulness giving you feedback. The kindness doing the work of relaxing and softening the mind. And soon you follow that path of kindfulness, and soon your mind gets so peaceful. You don't need any more thoughts. You don't need to go searching for the future or the past, something to distract yourself. You're relaxed and peaceful in the same way your body is. That's why we call it kindfulness meditation. It makes meditation so easy for everybody, which means that you relax the body, you feel really great. You can relax your mind and you feel beautiful. You can go to sleep at night. You don't have so many thoughts. You're not so crazy. You're not so mad. You're not such a problem to other people. It works so well. I'm going to finish off with a little story, which I actually saw. Somebody downloaded this. It was on the Australian Broadcasting Corporation news site. They were having a panel discussion about the terrorist situation in Syria and Iraq. And the person who made this comment was the editor of the Spectator magazine, Spectator newspaper in England. It's a very popular, prestigious, not some junk newspaper, but a very highly regarded newspaper in England, the Spectator. This was the editor. And he said that he had just found out some research had been done in Sussex University in the UK, that if you meditate, do mindfulness or kindness, whatever, then everybody who meditates just for 7 minutes, all of your racism, aggression, need for revenge totally vanishes. You get so peaceful and kind and non-aggressive. So he suggested that the British government parachute into Syria Buddhist monks and nuns and let them meditate for a few minutes, and then all the violence, lights will all vanish as they will become so peaceful and smiling and kind and put away their guns and just have a happy, peaceful time. That's what he was suggesting. But when he suggested that, I thought, yes, you know, I can think of a few monks I'd like to parachute. No. Don't go with that as well. So if you know any Buddhists, you want to parachute into Syria, go and contact the editor of the Spectator magazine. So thank you all for listening. Now we can have some questions and answers. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. So that's over now. It's gone so quickly. So now, some Q&A. My goodness, you're all so quiet. Have we got it? You know the old story I've been telling the BGF year after year after year, trying to get a question. You know it's from the Buddhist sutras. If you don't know, I'll tell you too quickly. That in the Buddhist teachings of the sutras on karma and reincarnation, there was one man asked the question, why is it that some people are born rich, some people are born poor? Why is it that some of you have to work really hard? I finished the story now, I started it. Then some of you work so hard, and you still find it hard to actually get by and pay the bills. Other people, they don't hardly anything at all. And they win the lottery, the business gets really successful, they retire when they're 25, millionaires, billionaires. Why? How come? It's unfair. And they asked, why is that? The Buddha said, it was the karma you did in your past life. You know, if you give lots of donations to the BGF, then next time. So it's about, it gave a good answer. If you're really stingy, you don't know how to use money, then next lifetime you won't have much. So anyway, that was the answer. But then he asked another question. Why is it that some people are really beautiful while other people are just ugly? And just all of the makeup, all of the hairdos, all of the cosmetic surgery doesn't help. Why is it some people are born ugly? And you may have noticed, I have to say this every time, when I mention the word ugly, I always look at the floor. Because I mentioned this story once, it happened to be in Singapore. When I mentioned the word ugly, I just happened to be looking at one woman. Just by chance. And she really complained. Ajahn Brahm, why did you mention the word ugly when you were looking at me? And even these days with scandals around monks, I mention the word beautiful, I make sure I look at the floor as well. Don't get the wrong ideas. Anyway, the Buddha gave a good answer. Then he came to the real question, why is it that some people are intelligent and some people are stupid? You know what it's like? Some of you work so hard to get through university. You studied extra hours, got extra tuition. And then some of these other people, they just hardly do anything at all. They just fly through university. I must have, that was me. I didn't do much work at university. I was partying, going out with my girlfriends, having a great time, and still did very well. And the Buddha said, the cause of stupidity in your next lifetime, why you will have to work even harder trying to get through university or through school. The cause for stupidity in the next lifetime, this is absolutely true, the Buddha said this. The cause of stupidity in the next life is because you do not ask questions. The Buddha said that. People don't ask questions, that's why you're stupid in the next life. So, are there any questions? Yes. You get a lot after that. Yes. So, shout out your question so we can...
Hi, Ajahn Brahm, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Ajahn Brahm, just want to ask one question. If you are living in a very hostile environment...
Living in a hostile environment?
Yes, especially...
Syria?
Yes, let's say a hostile home environment.
A hostile home environment.
Yes. You know, you have your family members, you know, like treating you like enemy. And how do you still being kindful to people, especially it's a family member?
A family member. If it's a family member, it's very hard to divorce a family member. You know, if it's a husband, it's a bit easier. But you know, if it's like a parent or a brother or sister, you're stuck with them for life. But what you can do is you can look at that family member and look at something beautiful in them. And it's a hard thing to do sometimes when they're being hostile, but they're not always hostile. There's always some beautiful part in them. Remind yourself of that beautiful part. See that beautiful part, and then that's what they will show you back, instead of hostility. There was a nun who lives in Perth, Sister Wei Kan. She told the story of it was I think a Malaysian girl. Oh no, sorry, it was a Vietnamese girl who married an Australian man. And they got on very well. They loved each other and respected one another. But the Australian husband's mother hated having an Asian daughter-in-law. Really racist. And this poor little daughter-in-law from Vietnam, she tried everything to please her mother-in-law. Nothing worked. So she went to the temple for advice. And in the temple it said, loving kindness, spread loving kindness to her. Didn't work. Loving kindness meditation, didn't work. Chanting, didn't work. Do some dana, dedicate the merits, it didn't work. Nothing worked. Until one day this poor daughter-in-law was visiting the temple. She was so stressed out, she fell asleep. And she had a dream. She was a Mahayana. She dreamt of Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy. There's a beautiful vision of Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy. Just like in the temple statue, but with one detail different. The body, that's right, the body, the legs, the hairdo, the little bottle, just as in the statue, but the face. You know what it was a mother-in-law. When she came out of her dream, every time she saw her mother-in-law, she saw Kuan Yin. And like it worked! Now they're the best of friends, they love each other to bits. So, whoever it is, just maybe your brother, doesn't matter what gender it is, just imagine, maybe it's your brother giving you a hard time, or maybe a sister. Imagine just saying Kuan Yin with your brother's face. Worth a try. Yeah, how nice to see you. Okay. Okay. Before the wedding, they're about to get married, and he passed away just before the wedding. Now, I could do a few marriage jokes, but they may be a bit inappropriate. But, you know, sometimes there is some karma there. Sometimes it does teach us. The reason why he died was because he was born. Everybody dies at some time. Sometimes the most inconvenient times that people actually die. So, she did fall in love and commit and about to get married, and the partner passed away, died in an accident. So what do? You can't say, you can't if the past again, it's happened. So what you do is, the old story which I've mentioned many times before, if when you go home from a nice talk, you tread in the dog shit, and it gets all over your shoes, you've heard me say this before, what should you do with the dog shit? Please excuse me for playing S-H-I-T word, but it makes the whole story more memorable. I tried this story with dog poo, dog feces, it doesn't work. Dog shit. We tread in the dog shit, you should never scrape it off your shoes. You've heard me say that before. You have to take it home with you. Take the dog shit home with you. And you scrape it off in Malaysia under the durian tree. And it only takes a year, because 1 year later your durian is sweeter and juicier than ever before. And when you're eating that durian, you must always remember what you're really eating. You're eating dog shit, but it's been transformed into beautiful durian. So your friend, she's trodden in a huge pile of maybe elephant shit. It's huge. It's not a small thing. All hopes have been dashed, disappeared, and the whole sort of future has like been crushed. But it's a huge amount of shit. Dig it into her heart. Become a better human being, a kinder human being. And that's the best way she can express her love to her fiancé who's no longer here. To love his memory and make something beautiful out of it. And she can do that. But my goodness, she's probably quite young. It's hard to say this, but I can almost guarantee, 5, 10 years down the track, she'll have another partner, as we do. And when she has another partner, her love will be something special. Because she's been through a lot of shit. Her heart has been forged by that shit to really appreciate one another. How often is it that people we love, we take for granted, we always think they're going to be here for us, our mother, our father, our friends, we think, oh, they're always going to be here. She knows they're not. Someone very close to her was supposed to be here for the wedding and for all their future. They're not. Teaches us a wonderful tradition. See this cup here? This is Ajahn Chah's teaching. This cup, it's ceramic. It's got a crack in it. It's a cracked glass simile. You probably can't see this crack. Even if you came up to have a look, you still couldn't see it because it's microscopic, but it's here. And one day someone's going to drop this cup or kick it over. That crack is going to open up and this cup is going to break. It's the crack of fragility. If this was a plastic cup, it'd have no crack at all. I could kick it, drop it, smash it, it would still be the same. But because it is fragile, that's why I and BGF, whoever watches this afterwards, that's why we have to care for it. Because we know one day it's going to break. If this was permanent forever, we would not need to care for it. What that teaches you, that someone we love is no longer here. They broke, they crashed. That's why, whoever we love, we know that's going to happen to each one of us. That is the reason why we care. Because we're all fragile. That's why we care for the BGF, that's why you care for Ajahn Brahm, that's why you care for each other. We're all one day going to go. So before we do, let's care for each other. 100%. So. Very good. Okay. Why do you think psychology and Buddhism are alike? How do you be kind to other religions? You've got no choice. And it's like being in a family. You live in a family, a brother and sister, you're stuck with them for life. So you might as well be kind to them and learn how to sort of love one another. You don't have to be the same to love somebody. Which means that you can actually love people of other religions. You don't have to be the same. In fact, if everybody was the same, it would be really boring. My simile of I said this just after the Paris attacks. We had a little ceremony in most cities in Australia. I did the one in Perth. I did a few little words, the simile of the most beautiful sound in the world. That was in opening the door of your heart. How it goes was there was a man who lived in the middle of Australia, a long way from anywhere. No education, no TV, no internet. And one day his children, who went to proper schools and universities, they invited their father to the city for the first time. And as he was exploring the city, he heard this really terrible sound. The worst noise he'd ever heard, but he was inquisitive. He wanted to find out what was making this noise. And so he followed the noise to a back room of a house. He saw about a 6 or 7-year-old boy try to play a violin. Screech, scratch, making a terrible sound. Because he was not educated, he thought all violins sound the same. So the next day, when he was in a different part of town, he heard a very beautiful sound. He followed it to its source. It was an old woman playing a violin. She was a maestro. She'd been training for years and years and years. And he realized his mistake. It wasn't the violin's fault. It was the person who hadn't yet had the time to learn how to play the instrument properly. But when you hear a maestro playing a violin, it's just so sweet and so beautiful. Then he thought, it's the same with religions. We can criticize this religion or that religion, because many of the things we see of people who haven't learned the religion well yet. But the next day, he heard a sound which surpassed the maestro playing the violin. It was more beautiful than the sound of the mountain streams after a heavy rain. More beautiful than the sound of the wind in the trees in the forest. Even more delightful than the morning chorus of the birds when the sun comes up. It was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard in his life. And what was it? It was the sound of an orchestra. And it was the most beautiful sound for 2 reasons. Firstly, every member of the orchestra had learned how to play their instrument like a maestro. And secondly, and most importantly, they'd all learned how to play together in harmony. What a beautiful sound that was. And he said to his children, what a wonderful thing it would be that people of all the different religions in the world and all the different sects of each religion all learn how to play their instruments like a maestro, and then learn how to play together in harmony. What a beautiful world that would be. So that is how we can deal with people of other faiths. Tell them, learn your faith well. I'll learn my faith well. And then we can play together in harmony. Would it be a good orchestra where we only have one instrument and 100 people playing the same instrument? And in what way do you think psychology and Buddhism are alike? Oh, Buddhism is a science that's been meditating on the mind for 2,500 years, and the things which we've discovered about how your mind works and all the strategies to end suffering in the mind is huge. And it's only recently that the Western psychology is tapping into that knowledge and wisdom. And in fact, this is absolutely true. Over in Perth, where I live, there's all these psychologists, all their practices and the therapists, they tell me we had to go to university to get the certificate to practice as a psychologist. But everything they actually do with their clients every day, they learn from me. The practical stuff they learn from Buddhism. That's why there's many courses in Buddhist psychology today. Dear Ajahn, even psychology of raising donations for the BGF. It's so easy to do. When was the last time I told the story of the suicidal spider? You know that one? Yes. Oh, okay. What about the monk who tried to hypnotize people? Okay, this is another way of... Because sometimes when you start off as a monk or you start off at a new society in Peter, it's very hard to get funds at the beginning. So this venerable, he got a new centre, but it was really difficult to pay the bills. So he went to another senior venerable, a chief reverend. And he said, look, I'm really hard to pay the bills, what can I do? He said, very easy. Next time you give a sermon in your hall, close the windows, turn off the aircon, make it really hot. And when you actually give a talk, give it in monotone, very slowly, to send people asleep. But just before they fall asleep, get out your watch and just move it backwards and forwards until they're all hypnotized. And when they're hypnotized, you tell them, when you leave, no coins in the donation box. What's the highest denomination of ringgit notes? 100. No 10s, 20s, 50s okay, only 50s and 100s in the donation box. And the Reverend said, the Newman, I can't do that. No, that's fraud. He said, no, it's making merit. So he tried it. The next time that he gave a sermon, closed all the windows, turned the aircon off, make it really hot, and gave a very boring sermon. When people were about to fall asleep, got his watch out, backwards and forwards, hypnotized everybody, and then said, only 50s and 100s, no coins, no lower denominations. And when they finished, the donation box was stuffed with cash. He really cleaned up, had a wonderful time. But he decided he can't do that every week. People will soon figure out what's going on. So he waited until he needed some money. And when people came in, closed the windows, turned off the aircon, let it hot, gave a very boring sermon. Got out his watch and just hypnotized them, and he dropped his watch. When he dropped his watch, he said, oh shit. And it took them a week to clean up the So please don't force Victor to try that trick. Anyway, that's the malaria one. How to share and teach other people? I don't know, already.
Yeah, you prefer about the front one.
Okay, I've got it the wrong way around. Okay, these days. Okay, homeless people and other people. And her mother superior, a Catholic nun, said, look, it's dangerous, what would you do? What's your strategy if somebody, tried to molest you, rape you? And she said, easy, madam, I'll just lift up my skirt. What? And then I'd ask him to take down his trousers. What? You can't do that. She said, no, because I can run much faster with my skirt up than he can with his trousers down. That's wisdom. So, try to use wisdom. But also, be careful, because people all know where the dangerous areas are, and don't frequent them. There's other places. If you go to nightclubs, then you're bound to get into trouble if you come to the BGF, especially on New Year's Eve. Safest place in town. I do believe in karma, but I always wonder, how does the first life exist? The first life of a human or animal does not have anything to be based on. Thank you, I love your talks. Okay, this is something I was telling in, it was in Malacca, I think. No, I actually told this in Terengganu yesterday. A bit of science of Buddhism, bringing them both together. The first beings, or creation, because sometimes people will ask you that, your Christian friend, how do Buddhists believe this universe began? Now, I'm going to go back 500 years ago, when people in Malaysia, Europe, even China, we all thought the earth was flat. And if you travel in a ship far enough, you'll fall off the edge. We thought this planet Earth had a beginning and an end. It had boundaries. And it was actually not Copernicus and Galileo, it was the Chinese who first discovered that the world was actually round. You know what the Europeans are like? I'm one of them. We always take credit for everything. But the Chinese culture was way more advanced. They discovered this world is round. We all know that now. If you go far enough, you just come back again. You know, many of you may have travelled around the world. I've got in a plane and gone around. Now, we all know the planet Earth is round, it's not flat. But I remember as a child doing science, wondering, where does the universe end? If you get a spaceship, now like something out of Star Wars or something, which can go warp speed, and just fasten the speed of light, will you come to the end of the universe? Some brick wall or some razor wire fence so you can't go any further? And I tried to contemplate, what would it be like finding the end of the universe? What would it be like? If there's a wall, there has to be something on the other side of the wall. If it's the fence, you can see through the fence. If it's a chasm, there has to be something on the other side of the chasm. And it never made any sense to me how you could have a boundary to the universe. And of course, as soon as I did science at university, I remember the lecturer getting a football out onto the table, a soccer ball, and saying, imagine an ant walking on this soccer ball. The soccer ball has a finite area, but no beginning, no end. You go round and round and round. And the ant will soon find that. So that is like our universe. The universe is curved. It has no boundaries. If you go fast enough, you never find an end, a wall or a chasm where this universe ends. That's basic science. Ask any astrophysicist that. That is accepted. A universe, no boundary to space. You go far enough, you come back again. Now, the next step, time. Too many people are flat timers. They believe in flat time. Time to the beginning or an end. Now that is just so 500 years ago. Because if you did have a beginning of time, what was before the beginning? What turned on? You have to have something turn on the switch. Existing before the beginning, or existing after the end. And I know that, putting aside all religion, philosophically that never made any sense to have a beginning. But what does make sense is like curved time. Time with no beginning, no end. Unbounded time. That's exactly what the Buddha said. Time, beginningless time. And just like everything else, like the earth being round, the universe being curved, even time turning back on itself. And even though, as a monk, I'm not supposed to watch movies, I did watch one recently. And it was because, it was important to me. It was, I think, called The Theory of Everything, the life story of Stephen Hawking, so far. And I did that because, that was where I grew up. And I knew many of the people in that movie. And I just wanted to see it because I could relate to it. There was no sex, no violence, so I thought it's okay for a monk. But I did know to the very end that Stephen Hawking was actually saying that now that his position is no Big Bang, Big Bang didn't start things, there was pre-Big Bang. And he said now he knows of a universe with no boundaries, no beginnings, no ends, no beginnings of time, no ends of time. Round and round, samsara. Now that is philosophically very satisfying. So anyone who believes in beginnings and ends, like a person who believes that the earth was flat, had a beginning and an end, a boundary. Now we all know different. And in, I don't know how long, we'll all know different. The time has no beginning, no end. It's not flat. And that would agree with the Buddha and also Professor Hawking. So that's your answer. Anyway, is an abattoir operator carrying heavy bad cargo? What is the meaning of killing? Shall we need to kill to live? If you actually are running a slaughterhouse, there's other jobs you can do. I'm sure that if you're a Buddhist, ask a few other people, we'll get you another job to do, so don't need to do that. Because seeing animals being killed obviously does really affect you. In my whole life, I've only ever killed one animal, and that was a mouse. My father had just died, and there was a mouse in the house. My mother was scared of that mouse. I don't know why, they did a tiny little mouse. So I volunteered, because my father died, to put out a mouse trap. And it worked, and I killed that mouse. And I remember just taking it up and seeing this beautiful animal and stroking it. It was so soft. It was a gorgeous animal. And I'd killed it. I felt terrible about that. I didn't realise what an animal was when you had it and it was obviously still. But I hadn't got that cold yet. You could stroke it, see its beautiful face. I felt terrible. When you actually kill something, it does really affect you. Never again. So, what the meaning of killing is, if you have killed something, feel what it's like. It's so much different than going to a shop and buying a pork chop or whatever. But when you do it yourself, it really sort of strikes home to you. I don't want to do that. So try not to. It's easy to talk about opening out one's heart to be kind and compassionate, but what is the best and most reliable way to do it? It is actually a bit of meditation, but not just meditation, brainwashing. That's what I do here. And every time a venerable gives a talk, you're all brainwashed. Even the middle story, down the ground floor, you get brainwashed down there. These floors can't stop the energy going through it. And after a while, the people we associate with affect us. That's why that story, the elephant, which is the elephant who lost its happiness, was the title of the German edition of Good Bad Who Knows, which got to number 3 in the whole books in Germany. And that story, it's in the Good Bad Who Knows, was I'll do it very quickly, an elephant, really good elephant in the time of the Buddha or beforehand, but his character started to change. Instead of being compliant, would always refuse to do what he was asked, she was asked, sorry, it's a female elephant. When the trainer was, or the people looking after were right behind, he would wait until the trainer was right behind before he pooed, and would always squirt things at everybody instead of being a good elephant. He became a bad elephant. And the king didn't know why, but the vet there, psychologists, everything trying to figure out why this elephant has suddenly become a bad elephant. And no one could find out the reason why, so the Bodhisattva, the former story of the Buddha, it comes from Ajahn, decided, I will find out. And went to stay next to the elephant store and meditated all night. And in the middle of the night, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, the minister was disturbed. Somebody was talking right behind the elephant store. It was a group of robbers, bandits. And they were planning their bad deeds that night. And who they're going to beat up for not paying their debts, what houses they were going to rob. And they were such bad people, even though elephant doesn't understand human language. The vibes, the stuff coming off these bad people was actually affecting elephant. So the minister had all those robbers arrested by the king the following night and asked monks to go and meditate and discuss Dhamma behind the elephant stall. And just the association with good monks, even though he couldn't understand what they were talking about, just being there was enough for them to change their character. Or for the elephant to change, became a good elephant. And the moral of that story is if you do have bad husbands, bad wives, bad kids, send them to the temple. They're hanging around really good monks, and soon they become good people. But the problem is you send too many of your bad kids, they will affect the monks. No, we're very strong. So what's happening there, actually you are getting influenced by going to good places, associating with good people. You actually do start to open the door of your heart by just osmosis, because other people around you do. So please choose your friends wisely. That's why it's great to bring your kids to a place like this. How to help the victim of abuse learn the true meaning of love? He said because his father, my paternal grandfather, was a drunkard, alcoholic, domestic violence to his mother. And he said he'd come home drunk, take off his leather belt, and whip anybody who came within reach. Many times my father was on the end of that belt, having a whipping, for no reason at all. And often his mother. He said that hurt to see his mother, my paternal grandmother, beaten like that for no reason except his father was drunk. But he said, amazing thing, he told me when he was on the end of a whipping, he made a resolution, if ever I survive and have kids, I will never do that. And even though quite a few times my brother and I deserved a spanking, he just couldn't do it. He gave up, so I can't do this. Because he had abuse, he knew what it did to people, and he learned from it. He was one of those people who dug in the shit and made mangoes luxurious. You can do that. So if you are the subject of abuse, feel what it does, and do you want to be like that? And you can learn from it and turn it totally around and say, no, I'm never going to do that to anybody ever again. You know what it's like. It's like a person who's been poor and hungry. If you've ever really been hungry, you can never go past another person who's hungry and not help them. You know what it's like. You can't do that. That's one way. I've got to be quick because there's only 5 minutes, there's about 10 questions. How to make a person to be outgoing from depression. They're only 18 years old and refuses to come to listen to the talk. Of course. You've got to find out his weak point. So find out somebody he likes. Find out a nice computer game on loving kindness. Or whatever it is. People have actually done that. They're starting to get apps, computer games, which have got some moral principles behind them. So the more loving kindness you have, the more points you have. Then you can go on to the next level and do jhanas or whatever, I don't know. But something like that, you can actually, if that doesn't work, if it's a boy, what a boy's interested in, if it's not computer games, they're interested in girls. So, get him a girlfriend. Get him a girlfriend from the BGF, high quality. And you wouldn't believe that boys, 18-year-old boys, would never listen to their parents, but then, my goodness, they listen to the girlfriends. And you have all the power. You get sort of friendly with a girlfriend, and then you have all the power you need over the boy. So that's a couple of things you can do. How to radiate kindness and enable one to sleep well. I often get up in the middle of the night and unable to sleep. Just tell yourself when you get up, I'm going to stay up, my bed is so comfy. It's the coziest place in the world to be. It's so soft and warm and you can relax, you've got nothing to do. Why waste that pleasure by going to sleep? So no, I'm not going to go to sleep, I'm just going to enjoy the soft, beautiful bed. And my pillow is so nice. I don't want to go to sleep, I'm wasting all this pleasure. And of course you go to sleep. Trying to go to sleep is what stops you. Office politics. In order to mix into boss's beloved group, you have to drink alcohol with them. I do not drink at all. How to survive in office politics and let bosses like you and notice you? Very easy. Just endure for a little while. You don't take alcohol. Your boss and other workers do. And once they've had a few glasses of alcohol, they tell you all sorts of secrets. So you can use those secrets. So, boss, I need a rise. No, we can't afford it. Oh, you know what you talked about last night when you did it? How much do you want? I shouldn't say things like that, but it does work. If you dream of a situation which sometimes happens in the future, like deja vu, and it doesn't happen once or twice, but more, how can we stop it? Through mindfulness, kindness, what should I say to it? If you do keep seeing the future, and it does actually happen, it's sometimes quite disturbing, you can actually train your mind to say, no, I will not do that. It's called like the self-hypnosis, the self-conditioning. It's not that hard to do. You just, when you're calm, peaceful, relaxed, you just tell yourself, close your eyes and say, I will not have any dreams of the future. I will not have any dreams of the future. I will not have any dreams of the future. In your own words, say it to yourself and pay attention, but then forget about it. You're actually rewiring your brain. You're telling your mind what to do. You're conditioning it by yourself. Do that a few times and all those things will stop. It's just the psychology of the brain. If you could see something at first sight when you first enter a room, house, when someone else doesn't see it until they've taken a good look of the scenery. What does it mean? It doesn't feel well to enter it. Are you talking about some spirit or something in the house? If it's some ghost or the spirit in the house, welcome it. Your house is big enough, you can have a spirit as well. Just like one of my disciples over in Perth, they had a spirit in the house, a ghost who lived in the same house with them. They didn't mind that, but the ghost, every time they were watching a program on the TV, if the ghost didn't like it, the ghost would switch the channel over. So they'd get the remote, switch it over to what they were watching, and the ghost would switch it back again. The ghost didn't need a remote, he just did it. And it was so frustration of watching a movie or a football match that's come to the end, the ghost said, look, fed up with that, or switch the channel over. You know the way they solved that problem? They bought another TV just for the ghost. So this is absolutely true. The ghost watches its stuff and they watch their stuff. So it's summer, fair, and there's no problem anymore. Oh, come on. AKC 3199. Your car is making bad karma. Please move it now, otherwise it will be reborn as a bicycle in the next life. Cars make bad karma too. AKC 3199, you're making bad karma. One different type of worshipping Buddha in different temples. Oh, it's just some traditions and some different ways. Some people like bowing, some people like bowing fall down. These are just traditions, they're not really important. It's not if you're bowing, but how you bow. What's in your mind? It's not just chanting. What are you doing in your head when you're chanting? So that's the different types of worship, but it really doesn't matter. We worship things in different ways. So there's no problem at all. So adapt to different ways of doing things. Did Ajahn Brahm, you said that your kindness meditation relaxes your body and mind till no further thoughts will arise. May I ask what will happen next? No, you won't ask, you can find out for yourself. You're peaceful. It's so wonderful to be free of thinking. Look, it's just like, have you ever had someone having a noisy party in the house next door to you? And they go on 11 o'clock, when are they going to shut up? 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and finally they shut up, peace and quiet at last. That's just all these thoughts in your mind, like a party in your mind. When are you going to have any peace and quiet? Last, finally, no more thoughts, peace and quiet at last. Oh, that's so nice. You bliss out. Autism, Buddhist point of view. There was a story of actually autism in the Jatakas about the prince. He was born as a prince and decided he wouldn't become a prince. It was too much problem. So he pretended to be autistic. He wouldn't speak, he wouldn't do anything. It was an interesting story that he can actually even force that. He wasn't really autistic, but just decided to take that as a way of escaping from the suffering of being a king. But many autistic people, they are fully aware of what you say, what you do, they're living a full life inside. But it's just trying to relate to them on different ways, not just the ways of speech, but other ways. And I think people have made great advances on connecting to autistic people. Just try innovative ways of communicating, and they find a way through. If someone divorces you, do they get bad karma? What to do? If they are so stupid to divorce a kind person like you, they get their bad karma results straight away. They're separated from a beautiful person. But anyway, in the West, we don't call it divorce anymore. We call it recycling. Okay. Hi, can I ask regarding Theravada monks' diet? I understand the first piece of do not kill. I know that your diet consists of fish and chicken, chips. I would like to understand more. I hope no offense asking this. It is, some people, I've been talking to doctors about this, that some people can eat a vegetarian diet and they can survive pretty well, but not all people can. And physically they get very sick. And I've got my local doctors, a lot of my monks are trying to eat a vegetarian diet and getting sick. And And the local doctor is saying, please tell them not to. But I can't do that. So some people can, some people can't. So we can't be criticising. And one of the nicest things was, sometimes people don't understand this, but the Buddha was wise enough to make the monkhood and the nunhood open enough for all people, even those who can't be vegetarians. They too can become monks or nuns by not making it obligatory at all. The Buddha was asked just before he passed away by Devadatta, can we make it a rule that all monks and nuns have to be vegetarian? He said no. And sometimes I wonder, why was that? I think it was to make the monkhood more accessible for others. And that's my idea anyway. Another question I may ask, the difference between solitude and loneliness, I've heard you mention before. Yes, in brief, because I'm going over time. You only feel lonely when you don't like yourself, when you're not at peace with yourself. I've been in solitude for a long time period, 6 months once. Didn't see any human being for 6 months, or speak to a human being for 6 months. And I never felt lonely, because I was with my best friend, me. I'm quite happy with myself. So that's why I never feel lonely. I'm always with my best friend, me. So if you've got a good relationship to yourself, you love yourself as you would love all other beings, you never feel lonely. You're with a great friend. But if you're afraid of yourself or don't like yourself, then when no one else is around, you feel not very pleasant. So get to know yourself, be kind to yourself, love yourself. Wherever you are in this world, you're never lonely. That's why, honestly, I still do this. When I go to bed tonight, the last person I will see is me. I say, good night, Ajahn Brahm, have a good night. See you in the morning. Night. I say good night to myself. And when I wake up in the morning, good morning, me, back again, have a wonderful day. I say good morning to myself. It's a wonderful way of waking up. How do we practice Buddhism in this ever materialistic world? You don't have to be materialistic. You don't have to go to the shops and spend all your money. You can spend it at BGF instead. Until you've got no money left, so you can't go shopping. Easy. So it's not that hard. And many people manage that. They don't get sucked in to all the advertisement promising you happiness, the more stuff you get. And then you'll be free. The thing is, you look okay. This is one of the big problems. You've got a skin disease, but you can't see it, so you don't get much sympathy. If you've got a broken arm or a big gash on you, oh, that's terrible, can I help you? Yeah. So anyway, try to give that sympathy to yourself. Okay. Okay, that's enough for tonight. You had an extra quarter an hour, but we're not going to charge you for it.
Okay, it works now. 3 things. Ajahn Brahm, I've got an update for you. Yeah. I just came back from Spain, and this was the International Congress of Clinical Psychology.
Oh yeah.
The keynote speaker there is a big American, and what he said practically supported exactly what you said tonight. We have learned that there are all different kinds of therapies in this world, and he wanted to find out which is the best. And he found out that all these kind of therapies are all as good as one another, but the main element that made them work was kindness. 60% of what works is actually kindness in any kind of therapy. So, scientifically proven.
Did you have to go to Spain to find that out?
Well, I was invited, so I went. Anyway, that's the first thing. Second thing is, tomorrow's talk will be here in this room, if any one of you want to come. So thank you very much for coming. Please do not have to stack up a seat, you can just go. Thank you. And good night.
Okay, share lyrics? Okay, he does that. Idam me yatinam Okay, have a wonderful night.
Do we stack?